Hey, everybody, and welcome to an incredibly exciting and special episode of Popcorn and Shield because of this treat that we're about to embark on. Today, we're sitting down with the two stars of the Conjuring movies, Vera Farmiga and Patrick Wilson. They, of course, play the real-life couple Ed and Lorraine Warren in the Conjuring universe. And the next film, The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It, is out right now. We've seen it. Vera and Patrick, thank you so much for being here to speak with us today. I'm a huge fan of this franchise, so I just could not be happier to be here.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you.
We love doing it.
Has it been like a decade since the Conjuring universe first came to be?
We started shooting in
17?
17.
2017?
No,
Was that number
2012. No, the second one came out in like 2016. I got it. So no, we started shooting the first one in what? It's like 2012.
2012. Sorry, 2012.
Yeah, I have a shirt from it.
The inverse.
The universe has been a huge success. It's one of my favorite connected film universes. When you first made The Conjuring 1, did you expect that this would become this phenomenon? It would lead to this whole connected universe and storyline?
I did not expect it to be that to have that measure of success. Like, it was successful to me because happiness is the key to success, and I was happy. I was happy working with you.
God.
I was happy playing this character.
Yes.
And so
we thought that you thought that
you're going to speak for me.
I am.
I love when he does that.
I am.
Go.
I am. And true.
He's
and
become
warm.
more clairvoyant now and can read my mind. So go.
I thought, I thought that we would, I thought if we did it right, we'd at least be back for another one. I did not see the spin-offs coming. I don't know.
True, I didn't either. Yeah,
right?
For sure.
But we thought if we got it right, we'd be back for at least one more.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and like I'm sure also having like James Wan at the helm, you're like, okay, this is somebody that can tell a story and weave a narrative and make this into something special.
Yeah, I mean, I had an experience with him on another movie, so by the time this rolled around, I knew this was, I knew he would deliver. I just had such confidence in him. And so
dude knows how to craft a scary movie.
He does. He does indeed.
And he did talk about all their other cases that first time around. So
yeah, and again, I think because this is in most horror franchises, you're following the villains. I think because of the nature of certainly the Conjuring side of the franchise, not so much the Nun and Annabelle and the spin-offs, but for the Conjuring franchise, since it follows your heroes, we can meet a different family or have a different case, and it's a different formula for a horror franchise.
So on the note of you guys, the heroes, you guys are portraying a real life married couple. So from my understanding, you guys got to meet Lorraine. What was that experience like? What did you take away from that meeting? The
first time we met Lorraine, I had already watched all the YouTube videos of them. Into every video there was to see, I had watched. And I suppose those tones when she's like talking about how she rebukes the diabolical, but I was so surprised at her sweetness, her absolute sweetness, and just how much she loved her guy. So much, and the way she talked about it. And then it came apparent to me that, we're not only telling a scary story, there's a real love story here. And that's such a unique combination. And that's what sets it apart, in terms of the horror genre. It was this beautiful, and I can see that. I could just see how she cherished him, and he was her absolute best friend. And for me, the absolute contradiction of what she did, like the diabolical, that the grit and the grime of what she went through, and yet how she could retain such a gentleness and a sweetness. She was absolutely adorable.
And we got to know her a couple times at her house. It was our thing before we started the films, was to go up there and pay a visit to her and to Tony Spiro, her son-in-law, and Judy, his daughter. And then she came to both the sets of Conjuring and Conjuring 2 in the premieres. So we got to know her speak to her a handful of times, which is wonderful. Vera, of course, got to know her very closely. So
I love the thing that we sat in, the second Conjuring 2, the thing that we sat in, our visit took place in this thing, and that thing is at the end of our movie, of this.
That's exactly
number
right.
3.
That's
it
exactly
was very
right.
Sweet.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
A lot of
You'll
those
see
things
what I
we
mean
would
when you see the film.
we would come back. I remember after the first film, we came back and we were sitting in her living room and these chickens were running around, and we just had this look like, we got to have chickens in the movie. So I remember calling James afterwards, like, listen, I don't know what you're doing with the script, but we got to have chickens in this film. Like now there's like in all the movies at some point, not in all the movies, but in most.
Is that like in your contract? Like we must have chickens.
It's actually in her contract anyway. Yeah, if you notice, even in like The Departed, there's a chicken. Up in the air, it's like up in the air with a chicken. Yeah.
Speaking more of the horror movie genre, do you approach making a horror movie differently than you would a different genre of movie?
Yes, I tend to let things linger more and be okay with the discomfort sometimes of just like it's a timing thing. It's a percussive thing with horror films, and playing out a scare much has to do with timing and getting comfortable with the discomfort of spacing out to the point of things feeling like unbearable before doing playing that next moment. So I love, finding those different rhythms, just thinking about it musically.
I think the difference of preparation or of execution, I guess, is with a horror movie. Honestly, not like a superhero movie, when that language is very heightened. So if anything, you have to go full bore. You got to go full throttle when you're, damning a demon back to hell. So it does require a much different energy. You can't underplay it. You can't do any of those things if you were doing some kind of contemporary cool movie. Like, you got to just eat it and chew it. It's like musical theater. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel also like as the movies have expanded, the Warrens are almost becoming kind of like these action it's not just that you're investigating a house, like you're casting that demon back. And especially in the second one, there's the house is caving in, and it's just like, it's more like an exhilarating experience too.
Totes. I totally see them as superheroes. This one just happens to wear Mary Janes and have sweeping updos, and be really gentle about the way she goes about damning devils back to hell.
Right.
But the awesome thing about playing this sort of real life superheroes is that you have this spiritual element to it, which makes it different than other superheroes.
Yeah. I think that The Conjuring, it's not just making people scared, it's taking horror to a different level, and it's resonating with audiences beyond just horror. Do you feel that too?
Absolutely. Honestly, I think from the studio perspective, that was probably evident in the first screening when they do these test screenings and they're on a point system, and typically I'll just make up a number, but they test in like the 80s, and all of a sudden this movie was testing in the high 90s, meaning that it crossed over. The amount of people that we've both had that said, I don't even like horror movies, but I really love The Conjuring, really to me is a great compliment, in that you'll have your horror fans that will come out and support you, but the movie has to resonate outside of that, because we don't look at it as just a horror movie. Really, this is a romantic and a family drama built into this. Into the horror genre. And honestly, I think the great ones are, the ones that resonate that make it timeless, all those things. Oh, that's a classic horror movie. Usually it's because there are the scares there, and they can be crafted in a jump scare or tone or more of a thriller. But it's usually because of the character that surrounds it. And that's something that James leads from the heart when he created the franchise. So anybody that steps in has to have that same respect for character, and really romance, because it enables us as our Ed and Lorraine to really play in the love, that the love will win, love succeeds, love will triumph. And that, of course, I think resonates to people that just want an escape and want some hope, even in a dark movie that deals with demons and the devil and some really dark things. We really try to find this light and this humor and love.
Yeah, I see that for sure. I'm definitely one of the people that fit in that category of like, I'm not a fan of horror movies, and I'm usually just like, oh, they're not rated too well. And then the missus was like, well, this one's rated well. And I go, oh, I can't argue that. And I watch it, and I enjoy it. And I even get to the point where I'm trying to fit all the pieces of the puzzle together. I will say that The Conjuring 2, the nun stuff was, oof, I closed my eyes on that one. That will count my heart beating. That being said, the third mainline Conjuring movie, The Devil Made Me Do It, is coming out soon. What can we expect to see from that one?
We're always upping the ante on everything, on the love, on the romance, on the fear, on the scares. But I think what's really cool about this one, given the nature of the case, that we see Ed and Lorraine boots on the ground, and they need to figure out the source of this evil. So we leave the confines of the haunted house, and we go out in the world and try to figure out. And that is going to require Lorraine to tap into different facets of her clairvoyancy, which is a real fun thing for me to explore and look into, not only telepathy and clairvoyance, but psychometry and precognition and postcognition and sort of all these different facets of her clairvoyance. That was cool to explore.
And this is of course based on the first time in U.S. history that someone used demonic possession as their defense argument in a homicide. So automatically that is much more inclusive than a family in peril. This involves law enforcement, justice system, working with other cops, trying to find another case. So it becomes a tonally, it plays out in probably more of a thriller aspect with the horror, still the horror scares, and it's a horror movie for sure. But in those ways, to me, that like, is Silence of the Lambs a horror movie? Yeah. Is Seven a horror movie? Yeah. But it's the dark thriller aspect that can really blend those two genres.
So this movie is obviously going to be filled with tons of scares, and the whole franchise is just scary as hell. So what have been you guys' personal favorite scares from the franchise? Were there any scenes like on set where it was scary in that moment, or were there any that like surprised you while you were watching it in the theater?
Rarely do things on set scare you in the movie because you're crafting it. I mean, seeing that clap scene was... Yes. It was, you felt like, oh, you got me. That was good.
Yes.
Yeah, we rarely have those sort of moments. I did have a moment. Actually, I did have a moment in Conjuring 2 with, again, because it's like an orchestral piece where you don't see all of the. That's in James's mind, or in this case, Michael Shavs, our director, in his mind of how you're crafting the scene. But I do remember the scene where I'm blinded in Conjuring 2 with the Crooked Man, and Javier, who played the Crooked Man, is such an amazing physical actor that even shooting the scene, it was so creepy. And I said to him, that's the scariest scene I've ever done, because it was scary in the room, and it's almost never scary in the room.
Sure.
Vera?
I don't know. There's one moment in this latest one that I've seen it 3-4 times now, maybe even 5 times. It always gets me. It always gets me, and I'm not going to tell you until you'll know it when you see it in number 3. But I got to see all this stuff from behind when she's strapped in number 1. When she's strapped.
To the chair.
The way that is edited, when the chair goes upside down,
you see through the blood.
When she hachoos, when she sneezes or spits out the blood onto the white cloth. Yeah, Lily Taylor's character. Yeah. But it's not that. It's not even so much. It is, for me, one of the scariest moments was just standing next to Lily Taylor. Like right before we had to shoot the scene where she would tap into some growling that was unearthly. Yeah. I don't know what was going on in her body or her mind or what she was tapping into, but it was chills would just my entire body, and I did.
I mean, we were even sitting in our chairs listening to her scream Roger over and over.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which is just, brutal.
Yeah.
Well, and I've seen like her makeup in the BTS, and that's like in the BTS, it looks scary. It's not like they enhanced that in post. Like she on set looked like she was really creepy.
Yeah, for the most part, we try to do, I say we, meaning everybody involved in these movies, you try to do as much as you can practically. So of course there are a lot of VFX in there, but from the get-go, we just wanted that realism. So yeah, I mean there's I think only probably when she goes through the door and you see the sort of the light burn, sort of bubbling on her skin in the first one. Yeah, but everything else is super practical. Stunts too. Most of the stunts become practical too. So that becomes a whole other thing of trying to design a sequence with doubles. Sequences in this where you're using, when we've done it in the other movies, where there's doubles and there's wire work and you can't tell what's what, and was that real? And even in the second one, playing someone going, backwards, shoot the scene backwards and play it forward, and it just looks kind of off and you don't know how. It's all those sort of tricks that that the directors try to do, so it can just make you go, what am I watching?
Yeah, there's one coming up in number 3 where you would swear that it was generated, and the choreography of what I'm talking about.
I do, yeah. No, it's awesome.
Yeah, you'll see.
Yeah, but it's practical, done practically.
Practical. Yeah.
Yeah.
So exciting. The scene that always gets me, and I've seen it, 5 or 6 times, is Vera, when you walk down to the tree to check it out, and you're having the vision of her, and it's not even, it's the framing of it and your reaction.
Turn around.
And her feet dangling. Her dirty
it's so
feet
good.
dangle. Yeah.
The dirty, the dirty foot dangle. It's a blues Southern band.
James was really, really precise in the direction of that, down to how open my eyes would be. Open them a little more, and he would count out the turd.
Yeah.
It took forever to crane my head around. You just had to trust him. Okay? He's just like such a conductor. He's just a brilliant conductor.
It's just perfect. One final question for you both. You mentioned earlier that the Warrens' relationship in the movies is a partnership, and that's what's so special about them. And it's clear that maybe the two of you have an okay friendship. Okay, there is the whole rooster in the chicken in the contract thing, but you seem like you tolerate each other. When that glass conjuring, or the conjuring phone in the glass case rings, and you get the call that there's another movie in the pipeline, what's kind of your reaction to that news?
Oh, it's awesome, man. It's the ultimate reward, right? The biggest reward is the opportunity to do more, right? The biggest reward you get is the opportunity to do more. So it's always an awesome pat on the back saying, well done, let's do another one. And I love it. I love doing it. I love this character. I love working with him, I do.
No, of course I do. I also think I think because of the way that it was set up and taken care of from the top down, from the studio, from the writers, and obviously from James, and now Shav's directing the third one. There's always such positivity with how we shoot it, and our producers, that it's a good time. It's sometimes not an easy time, but that's okay. It's always a rewarding time because there's something so as actors, you pray to get good material that can inspire you and that can move you, and that hopefully you can affect people, right? Whether it's scare them, make them laugh, make them smile, make them cry, make them leave the theater after the film is over. And we feel like we check all those boxes with these movies. So no one ever comes back and says, you know what, let's just try to eke out one more. It's, hey, we got an idea. Here's a story. This case was so crazy. Check it out. Then you kind of look at the case and we kind of Wikipedia and like, oh, that's awesome. Yeah. So you're always there along the way of these are our ideas. What do you think? And so it's a very communal, inspiring scenario, which is nice. And the fact that they're successful does help.
Well, I hope that we keep digging into the case files and getting more and more. It's been such an honor to sit down and talk to you both. This has been so delightful. So thank you so much. The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It. Go see it. It's out now. It's a great scare, a great time, and such a fantastic addition to the Conjuring universe. Again, Patrick and Vera, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good to see you guys.
Thank you.
You as well.